Hello, everybody. Welcome in. I guess I should do my best, Bo Wolf here. Hello, everybody. Welcome into the PHLY Eagles Podcast. Jamie Lynch, Rich Hoffman here with you. We are presented by Bet365. Find out why it's never ordinary at Bet365. You can enter promo code PHLY365. And we love our friends over at Bet365, even though, Rich, this weekend was a bloodbath out there. They took a lot of my money. They took a lot of my money on Dallas Goedert props on Monday night. And let's just start. We're going to get to Zack Berman at 10 after the hour here. Vinnie Curry is going to join us at 2:30. A lot to get into. And we'll talk about Nick's press conference here in 1 second. But I have to be honest, I was shocked. Now, 5 years ago when I became a father, I stopped kind of letting Eagles games affect me the next day. It was a conscious effort on my part. It was tough. It was something I had to go like, all right, Jamie, you can't wear an Eagles loss on your sleeve the next morning when you're hugging your girls and doing your routine.
That was big of you.
Yeah, it was like it was a hard thing for me to do. And I pretty much did it. Like even after the Super Bowl, I was just kind of like down and sad. I wasn't really angry.
Yeah.
I woke up Tuesday morning, Rich. It was back. Every scenario replayed through my head. The Sirianni strategy, decisions we'll get into, the drop pass, the lack of defense, the lack of pass rush, all of it just came like rushing back to me on Tuesday morning. And I had Eagles rage for the first time in like 5 years.
No, I did too, Jamie. And I'm coming at this from a little bit different of a perspective as you, because I have covered the Eagles a little bit,
sure,
in a professional manner, like
yes.
ZB, not as professionally as ZB, but certainly been in press conferences and gone to games and things like that. And obviously with the Sixers, for me, I've had that beaten out of me. I'm still very passionate about basketball,
sure.
But Sixers win or lose, I'm not feeling bad the next day or whatever. I'm with you, man. That was, I wouldn't even say the next morning. I would say right after the Eagles lost that game, I was like embarrassing. I was like my 16-year-old self. Like, I'm just like, I'm screaming like Saquon at the TV.
It really was. And then, I like Monday night, I guess doing the post game, I kind of like kept my emotions in check and maybe like blocked it out a little bit. And I didn't really hate the play call when it happened. But Bo was like screaming, right away, like you got to go for it on fourth down.
See, that's why he's better than us, though, because he can internalize that and right away spit out like that was.
I would take Bo Wolf's in-game strategy over Nick Sirianni's right now, to be honest with you.
He's certainly less emotional. I'll tell you that. No, it's true. That's where Bo is different from us, where I was curious about what happened on that play, but I was more frustrated with Saquon, more frustrated with the defense.
Sure.
And then when you were on the show with Bo afterwards and he was talking about it, I thought to myself, like, man, he's absolutely right. Like this is like that was such a bonehead move. And here's the thing, Jamie, and I think this will get into, when we talk to ZB in a little bit. It's okay for you and I to get emotional and not know, every angle and be ready for every specific scenario. When you are the head coach of the football team that does nothing else, no play calling, no nothing, all of that has been taken off your plate. That's not great.
The old CEO head coach. And, I got into it with Anthony a little bit on Monday morning, much like our own ZB did. And, his point was the Mike Tomlins and John Harbaughs of the world are CEO coaches, and whatever their OC or DC calls, they don't change it. They don't get in the way of it. They trust in what they've implemented and they let their guys see it out. My point was like Sirianni was like selectively aggressive in that game.
Worst
if you're going to be, like you can't put a toe in each water. The reason the Eagles won the Super Bowl in 2018, besides, Nick Foles just playing, the best 7 quarters of football I've ever seen a quarterback play, was because Doug Peterson had his foot on the gas pedal, and he never once thought about picking it off. He was aggressive every single time, and it provided like a consistency where you knew what to expect. So, if Doug is there in the first half and he decides not to kick the field goal and he goes for it on fourth down, you go, all right, well, they're going to get this back because it's going to be aggressive again down the line, and it's going to pay off for us. And you kind of had that. And I think him taking that late field goal to go up 6 was almost the unaggressive after being aggressive. Like the third down play was aggressive. It really should have been 4 down territory, and you should have run the ball on third down to kill the clock and then be aggressive and go for it on fourth down since the clock stops anyway. So we kind of like inversed. And I think that's where it leaves me, you, and some others like scratching our heads of
is my Wi-Fi not good here?
Yeah, you just kind of clouded out there for a quick second, but there you are.
I'm back. No, I
yeah,
agree
this collective aggressiveness, like just be aggressive.
The decision to run, I think this is where Cuz was making that point on Monday, and he was hammering it home. And I think I more and more agreed with that part of it, where if you're going to be aggressive on third down, you got to be willing to go for it on fourth.
That was the mistake. Yes.
That was the issue. And it's just, I don't know. It was frustrating, man. I don't really think there's a defense for it. And frankly, it's part of the reason why this CEO coach idea, this is where, you know, you could see the blemishes in that. You can see the weaknesses, right? Because he has to be completely buttoned up at this. But Jamie, here's the thing. He's not an analyst. He's not an analytics guy. He is a football coach. So when you give him like situational football all on his plate, he might not be able to do it. It seems to me, honestly, because he gave an answer to Bo today about like, okay, we go back, we look at all of the fourth downs under 4th and 5 since like, what was it, 2020, 2021, something like that. First off, I think there's a flaw in that argument, but it's clear that he actually works hard at this, right? Yeah. But I just think the methodology is flawed. Whereas in 2017, like you said, the reason that the Eagles won the Super Bowl, and one of the reasons, I don't want to take anything away from
it was a big one.
All of the players, including Vinny, who's going to be on the show in a little bit, they were all great. But that was a huge part of the reason that the Eagles won. And a lot of that was, I think it was Ryan Pagnetti. If I have that wrong, somebody was just
he was
radioing down
to Pagnetti.
He was radioing down to Doug, like, just go. And Doug was like, great. But here's the thing. You can take that. You can take that off the coach's plate when the coach is calling all the plays, right? Doug's like, that's fine. Like, I got a lot to do otherwise. And it just, I don't know. It was really bad. And, you know, I think like wherever you fall on the kick versus go debate, and it's clear that somebody like Anthony says, you know, Bill Parcells played this in the 80s another way, where to me, honestly, even being pro analytics, like forget that. We won a Super Bowl with a guy who just was like, we're going. Like, I feel like life experience would just lead an Eagles fan to be just pro going for it all the time. But the one thing I will say, James, is that wherever you fall on that debate, the other point I would make is that Jeffrey Lurie and Howie Roseman, I know where they stand on the aggressiveness continuum. I know where they stand. And it's not with Cuz and Bill Parcells and all those people. So look, that was a disaster how that went. It really was.
Yeah. You know, live during the Manning cast, Peyton Manning and Eli had on Penn Charter's finest and Matt Ryan while that play happened. And Peyton was in the Anthony camp of that's why you run the ball there. There's too many variables to a play going wrong. And to me, like when you look at it, the clock was the most important thing. You decline it. You kind of played, you know, you declined the third down penalty. You made the Falcons kill all their timeouts. The clock was the most important thing to me. And then Matt Ryan, on the other hand, it was very interesting to see two, you know, modern era quarterbacks. It's a little bit different of a game than Peyton's prime per se, but two modern era quarterbacks argue about it. And one thought, no, that was the absolute right play call. Matt Ryan said the play call was there. It was right. And then Peyton was like, no, that's not what you do. So I thought that was pretty fascinating to see two guys, you know, with PhD levels of football having the ball in their hands every possession. Even they were split on it, Rich. So it kind of just, you know, my opinion, your opinion, Anthony's opinion, they're all a little bit right. It's kind of that beautiful football strategy of it, of what do you do? And unfortunately, we sit here and dissect it being wrong because they lost. And there is another alternate reality out there where Saquon catches it. Eagles are sitting 2-0 and everybody's pretty happy, but we're not there. And we're going to check back in with Rich momentarily. A little bit of a Wi-Fi issue, but it's a great time for me to tell you about a company I've used now since we launched here at PHLY. It's Game Time. And right now, if you use code PHLY for $20 off, Game Time is awesome. I've used it for concert tickets with my wife. I went and saw a comedy show with some buddies. And then I did a family trip with a bunch of cousins out to Wrigley Field this summer. And I used Game Time when we were out there. And, you know, sitting at a bar at Wrigleyville, I wasn't going to go to the game one night. And I said, let me just keep an eye on these tickets as we get closer to the first pitch. And sure enough, the ticket prices dropped. It became affordable. And I went, yeah, why not? Why would I not go see the game? I checked out images of the seat view right there. And one of my favorite parts is the all-in pricing. You get your all-together price, so you're not going to get hit with any surprise fees late, which is always the worst. They have the lowest price guarantee, or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code PHLY for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, just create an account and redeem code PHLY for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. And of course, let me tell you about a guy I know through John Marks. John Marks has talked about Dr. Glatt for what feels like a decade. And John's got a beautiful set of hair, doesn't he? Johnny Marks in the morning. Make sure you're checking him out at 8 a.m. But Glatt Hair Restoration. Right now, you can use code PHLY for $20 off. The Morgenstern Center for Orbital and Facial Plastic Surgery recently reviewed and welcomed the Glatt Group to their practice, creating an invaluable experience to leverage Dr. Glatt's high-caliber brand equity and beginning an exciting new chapter in Dr. Morgenstern's highly respected legacy. He's a nationally recognized specialist among the few surgeons in the country who are trained in oculofacial plastic surgery, facial cosmetic surgery, general trauma surgery, and plenty more. He's a true advocate, and John Marks has been spearheading their marketing campaign on his new platform, educating his audience through stories, and, you know, stuff that has just flat out worked. Glatt Hair Restoration is under the direction now of Dr. Ken Morgenstein. And what makes them better is they can help at all stages of hair loss with leading edge treatments for prevention and restoration, including laser light therapy, non-invasive TED treatments, vitamin supplements, topical oral medications. Basically, each patient receives complimentary one-on-one consultation to pinpoint the best course for treatment. So Glatt Hair just isn't about restoration. It's about innovation. Their breakthrough treatments really do dramatically change lives. Change your hair, change your life. Bald is now optional. If you want to improve how you look and feel about yourself, Glatt Hair has the right treatment for you. Regain your confidence. Visit glatthairmctr.com or call 610-980-4000 to get started. All right, we are going to bring in the man, Zack Berman from, I believe he's back home now, or are you still down at NovaCare, Zach?
No, I'm still at NovaCare. I have the locker room in Jalen Hurts later today, so here throughout the day.
All right, well, why don't you give us the ZB notes on today's press conference? Obviously, Nick had a lot to talk about, Zach. We were just talking about it. You could talk endlessly about the strategic aspect of Monday night's loss and the coach's philosophy. And Rich and I were talking about in 2017, you won the Super Bowl in part because Doug Peterson was always aggressive and never took his foot off the gas. What did Nick Sirianni have to say today?
Yeah, this was Nick's first time speaking since post game. So a lot of the questions were about the decisions after the game, and those who watched. I should say the decisions at the end of the game, and those who watched the PHLY Eagles show yesterday. You saw Professor Selman outline why going from 3 to 6 was not the right move, at least from a data perspective. And Nick Sirianni said that he has more conviction in it today than he did when he made it. He spent the day looking at his decisions. He referenced teams around the league who have gone for the 4th and 3 or for a similar type of situation when the score is, between, I think, 2 and 5 or thereabouts. I need to look at that specifically. Basically, when you would go into a situation where you don't make it a 2-score game. And he felt strongly in the decision that he made. I still disagree with him, but that was kind of the logic behind it. Now, I asked him specifically, what did the chart tell you? And he said his chart said to go for it, meaning like his personal decision was to go for it. He said you can find online 20 different charts that tell you otherwise, but he kind of has to go with his experience. He talked about being an offensive coach and needing to go the length of the field for a touchdown, what that does compared to having to go for a field goal. So look, he's the head coach. This is his prerogative. I found that answer to be curious for this reason. As you guys well know, Jeffrey Lurie is analytically declined. Analytically inclined.
Yeah.
Inclined, not declined. Inclined. I'm still catching up from sleep from Monday night.
Tell me about it,
man. So yeah, analytically inclined. So the fact that that they did not go with what the data suggested in a critical moment, I found to be surprising.
Zach, this was kind of it felt like a little bit of a shorter, more of a throwaway question, but I thought it was interesting that he said that there was no analytical suggestion for whether to run or pass on third down. And like, look, on the one hand, I feel bad for Nick in that, like, Saquon, just catch the ball. Like, just please catch the ball. But on the other hand, like, if you are going to be willing to kick, then you should run it, right? Like, if you're going to be willing to make them go the whole field, right? I don't know. It just, that bothered me a little bit too.
Yeah. So that part I get, like the chart's not giving you play call suggestions as much as it is giving, go for it or not. But there
Red
is
light, green light.
There is big picture thinking as far as running or passing. And, certainly there's data that would tell you, the probability of them scoring within 50 seconds compared to a minute and a half or what it might be. So yeah, to your point there, if you're going to kick the field goal, then, and you're going to make them drive the length of the field, then you certainly want less time on the clock for them to do so.
Zach, did he get into, this was something that became more of a kind of thorn in my side the more I digest the game. When they got the first down to Dallas Goedert, ESPN, Next Gen Stats gave them a 42.1% chance to win the game at that point. That interception, I know Devontae, Nick said today he slipped some and there was a couple issues. That was a worse and worse decision the more and more I thought about it. You have 2 timeouts remaining. Was there any talk about just throwing the ball away, being a little bit headier? I know he's trying to play hero ball there, but that was a brutal decision by Jalen there. Yeah,
no, to answer your question, Nick did not discuss that specifically today.
Okay.
But that's a worthwhile discussion point. And it's something that I brought up on the show yesterday in that I don't think that got enough attention, that they still had a good chance of winning the game. And you saw the interception against Seattle last year. Not the same situation, but similar situation, right? Like there's 2 things you don't do if you're Jalen Hurts in that spot. You don't take a sack and you don't throw the ball to the other team, right? At that point, there were still 34 seconds on the clock. They still had 1 timeout. They needed about 15 seconds they needed about 15 yards to go. So I found that to be a bad error by Jalen Hurts that kind of got overshadowed by what happened in the previous minute and a half.
Understandably so too, because there were a lot of other places to blame, but it really did sink in. Like, man, he should have done better there. That was a needless throw. Okay, ZB, I did see that Nick got asked a lot about the defense and other areas. Yeah. I'll just frame it this way: was there anything that he said that stuck out to you besides the clock management discussion for about 7 minutes there?
I thought the clock management was the most interesting part of it. Now, with the defense, he talked about how they can improve their run defense as far as getting off blocks, right? And that's a key component of it. He expressed confidence in the coaching staff and the defensive coaching staff, and then and there was a lot of talk about the Saints, or some talk about the Saints, the way that Saints offense is playing right now. But no, I found the most interesting parts of the press conference was, I wouldn't even say relitigating, explaining what happened at the end of that game.
Yeah, I guess he wasn't into specifics about the defensive line. I guess that'll come with Fangio tomorrow. I'm really fascinated to see what kind of changes come there, Zach. The more and more, great work we see from Fran Duffy. By the way, his film article is up on all PHLY. Check that out. And others. I mean, Bryce Huff looks like he's borderline unplayable right now. So I'd really like to hear more from Vic. I'm sure Nick's not going to dive into that, but this defensive line is an issue.
Absolutely. And the problem is there's a lot of investment here in this offensive line being good. When you look at the draft picks that they've spent, their last 3 first-round picks before Quinyon Mitchell were defensive lineman edge rusher, right? Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith, Jordan Davis. Then you add in third-round picks like Milton Williams, Alex Hunt. You add in $17 million a year for Bryce Huff. You add in $12 million plus for Josh Sweat. Yeah, they need to rush the quarterback better than they do. They need to stop the run better than they do. And I think if the problem here is personnel, that's a concern because like I said, there's a lot invested in this personnel. And
real quick on that, Zach, do you think there's a scheme versus personnel conflict?
Well, certainly there's a scheme adjustment for Bryce Huff, right? I mean, he's in a different scheme than he was with the Jets, and really the only film you had of him was with the Jets. Now, that said, I think when you look at the last drive of the game, for instance, got to have a situation for the Falcons. The Eagles did not touch Kirk Cousins, like literally did not touch him. No quarterback hits, nothing I would describe as pressure. And in that situation, I personally think, and there can be football minds who disagree with me, this is your guy beat their guy, right? I mean, it doesn't need to be you can talk about how they are on stunts in games, and I get that. But in those situations, is Hassan Reddick going to beat the opposing offensive tackle? Is Bryce Huff going to beat the opposing offensive tackle, right? And I bring up Hassan Reddick because I've seen in the past 2 years, Hassan Reddick beat the opposing offensive tackle in those situations. In late game money situations. And I did not see, and if Bryce Huff came through with a sack on Kirk Cousins there, all the talk about how he's playing, how he struggles on early downs, that goes out the window. He's here to be an impact pass rusher. And the biggest concern right now is the fact that he's not an impact pass rusher.
Yeah. It's great stuff, Zach. We'll let you go so you can get to the locker room and continue the great writing on all PHLY, and we are less than a week away from your book release. So very exciting stuff in the ZB world. We're all pushing those books for you, buddy. But we appreciate you hopping on, and make sure you read Zach tomorrow morning or later tonight. I know you never sleep on allphly.com.
I appreciate it. Good talking to you guys.
All right, see you, Zach.
We should have got his thoughts on the rate cut by the Fed. He really he loves giving financial advice.
That is true. We are going to be joined by Vinnie Curry in about 5 or 6 minutes. But Rich, that's the other part when you remove yourself from. And look, I think Peyton Manning and Matt Ryan disagreeing is like a great microcosm of, there's no set answer. Like running on third down, milking the clock is probably the right answer, but you can dissect that one a million ways. You could talk about this exact end of the game for the next year if you wanted to. But the real problem was what Zach just said. Kirk Cousins on the final drive. I mean, I can't remember an Eagles defensive line that was that poor in that situation. Usually there's at least collapsed pockets or somebody buzzing around an edge and getting a hand up there, something. I mean, we saw Jalen Carter getting one-on-ones the majority of the game. Jordan Davis, they had no fear of. They ran right out throughout the game. Josh Sweat, I don't know what happened to 2 years ago, Josh Sweat, but it's certainly not the same player. Bryce Huff, the defensive line is a major issue, and we'll get into it with Vinny today.
Yeah, look, Jamie, this is kind of the line of demarcation for the conversation, the Eagles conversation. The last 2 days, probably up until Nick's press conference, where he had to explain his thinking, was about that specific game and the decision making at the end of the game. Run versus pass, kick versus go, all of those things. Okay, I think that we can say maybe right now at this point, it's over. Like, I mean, he's got to be better, and if another situation happens like that again, like that's another data point that probably doesn't speak to speak to him keeping his job in the long run. But like their bigger issue in the long run is the fact that this defensive line absolutely stinks. And I think you mentioned a good point there too. Like, is it the players? Is it the scheme adjustment? Is it the scheme just being in conflict with the players that the Eagles drafted? Right? Because this is really the first time that under Howie Roseman they are playing this quote unquote, because I know Vic doesn't like this, but the 2 gap, 1.5 gap system where it's different, right? And the responsibilities for the defensive linemen are not just like get after the quarterback, which is basically what it has been. It certainly was that way under Jim Washburn all the way back. That was a stupid defense too. But under Jim Schwartz, like go get the quarterback, go pressure with 4. That's why I think Vinny is kind of the perfect person to have on today. Like I want to know like what type of adjustment that is, because he lived that. He got drafted in 2012, and I believe that was Washburn was still here. But then they went to that Billy Davis type of defense, and it's in some ways, Jamie, I would say here, maybe I'm thinking too much about last year in relation to this year, but last year they won all of the bad process, doing stupid stuff, really defense struggling. They won all of those games, right? They won all of those games. And the conversation afterwards was, oh man, like, look at them. They know how to win. Like this is a team with championship medal. Well, we saw in November and December and into January how much that really helped them when things got hard. So in some ways, I'm a little bit positive in that, like, okay, like sometimes failure is the best teacher, and losing this game, I just think like it has shined a light on the fact that this defensive line needs to get way, way better. Yeah. And these guys from Georgia too, like, remember when the Philly dogs were like, that was like a cool thing. I said this in the newsletter today. It's like they're the bizarro Villanova Knicks, basically. Like they're giving us nothing.
The bigger program and giving you nothing. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of true. Nakobe Dean, I still don't really have any strong like pulse or feeling on what he is. Zach Bond, I saw in all 22 clips, was just getting cut at the below the knees all game long. They were just taking him off of his feet. That wasn't a problem. That was a problem. Where's the adjustment on that? You know what I mean? Like, it didn't feel like there was an in-game adjustment that was like worthy of the game.
Fran and Vinny said this on the show as well. When they just said, yeah, he's just on the ground too much. That's a problem. Like, and I think some of that goes beyond whatever the scheme is. Like you just can't like get blocked.
You can't allow that to happen.
A linebacker so much. And I know like Chris Lidstrom was doing those cut blocks, and those are, I guess, tricky. Like I remember when I was a grade school football player, when somebody cut you, that is like a crazy feeling. Like a big offensive lineman is about to block you, and then he's just on the ground. And the next thing you know, you're face down in the ground because you just got cut. I understand that that's tough, but like for linebackers, that is a fundamental problem. The ability to not get off blocks. I really just, I know Bryce Huff is the main culprit of this because he really just looked like unplayable. Like
he was falling again. He was falling all over the place. Like we thought it was the side week 1, but like what is going on?
It's a really bad start, and I'm hoping that at least he can figure out the pass rushing juice at some point here. But like it seems like they're just really struggling to get off blocks, and that's less of a Vic Fangio problem, I think, than a personnel problem. And it's weird, right? Because the Eagles, like, for better or worse, their philosophy under Howie Roseman for forever has been, all right, we are going to load up on the front 4, and we'll try and piece it together. Certainly at linebacker, we're gonna be bargain bin shopping there, but also in the secondary a little bit. And this is different, right? They put their resources from the draft and in free agency this year with CJ Gardner-Johnson in the secondary. They were sick of guys running into each other from last year, so this is different. But it's been a really rough first couple of weeks. I think that's fair.
It has. And the Bryce Huff thing that I want to get into with, Vinny a little bit is this was a guy, Next Gen Stats, said last year was one of the quickest get off guys in the league. And it looks like he's engaging more with offensive linemen and not really pinning back his ears and going. But Vinnie Curry will be joining us shortly here on the PHLY Eagles show, which of course is brought to you by our friends over at Bet365. Now, when this client came on board with us here at PHLY, Rich, I was pumped because I hate the big box stores. I've always been an Ace Hardware man. I have the Orland Ace Hardware I go to, sometimes Lafayette Hill, the Ambler location, and it's consistent across all their store locations. When you walk in, somebody's right there. They know how to fix every problem. They can tell you where the part is, what the best part is, how to install it. Like, these guys in Ace are the best. So why wouldn't you want the best coming right to your house? If you've got a leaky pipe, Ace Hardware Home Services has a guy. They're around the block. They're seemingly in every neighborhood, and they have everything you need to fix it. Got an air conditioning issue? Well, Ace True Value's got you covered. A faucet or, some leaky pipes, whatever it may be. From plumbing to heating and cooling, they've got the trusted pros to keep your home humming all year long. Ace Hardware Home Services, they're bringing helpful home, the helpfulness that you love from your store now right to your front door. So visit Ace Hardware Home Services online at acehardwarehomeservices.com to get you started on your next project. And Monday night after the game, doing the post-game show there with our friend Vinny, who will be joining us momentarily, and Zach and Bo and Fran. I needed a Miller Lite. I needed I'm mad at my football team Miller Lite because it's cool, it's refreshing, it's light. It's the original light beer since 1975. And whether you're tailgating down in the lots, having friends or family over for a barbecue, out by the pool, the country club, wherever, Miller Lite always hits the spot. It's simple. It's a light beer that just tastes like light beer should taste. Undebatable quality, great taste, and only 96 calories. It's simple. They stripped away everything you don't need, and they held on to what matters most. A beer that tastes like beer should taste. Less filling and only 96 calories. The original light beer since 1975. And you don't have to choose what's best. Miller Lite has great taste and is less filling. Tastes like Miller time. To get Miller Lite delivered right to your door, visit MillerLite.com/PHLY Birds, or you can find it pretty much anywhere that sells beer. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 96 calories per 12 ounces. Fewer calories and carbs than a premium regular beer. Vinny will be with us shortly. We just lost an internet connection. Now, Vinny's agent told me that Vinny has quite a backdrop for his home office setup. I think we may see a little visit from a possible trophy in his backdrop. Ooh. So we'll see what's going on. But Rich, what I was talking about right before there, the reason they signed Bryce Huff, a big reason why, was because in a limited sample size, less than 50% of the snaps, we know his get off rate, his quickness off the line was the big. Yeah, like that was why they gave him $17 million. They thought that was going to translate to this defense instantaneously. And then if he's getting to the quarterback, 9 to 10 times a year, you can deal with him not being able to play the run as well. Look, I'm not Fran Duffy or some of these other guys breaking down the all 22, but some of the footage I've seen, he's not really pinning ears back and going. He's almost like standing up in this in-between, engaging too much with linemen. I don't know if it's just that adjustment period to a new defense. So we'll find out from Vinny momentarily. But that's like, where's the quick get-off time? Where's burning by somebody and getting outside on the edge and making the quarterback step up in the pocket? We just haven't seen it.
I've been thinking, Jamie, because of the Hassan Reddick drama in New Jersey for the last couple months, where this guy
what is he doing, Joe Douglas?
what are you doing? It's funny because a lot of Eagles fans were laughing at that, and I understood that to an extent, right?
I was like, Howie.
Well, see, that's where you were wrong, though. Like,
I'm totally wrong.
Laughing at Joe Douglas is fair because it's like, what is that? Come on, it's day one stuff. If you trade for a guy who wants a new contract, and you're going to say like, yeah, we're not going to offer you a new contract that you want. Like, what are you doing? But with this Bryce Huff development here,
you have to replace it.
You have to replace it. And honestly, I wasn't chanting Howie at the time, but I thought like the Eagles are in a better position here, right? Because they have a guy who wants to play football for them, who at least can get to the quarterback. But now, I mean, watching him against the run the other night, man, like it looks like he had like really never played against the run before. He looked like he's just kind of running around like he's got like roller skates on or something. It's just like, it didn't make any sense to me. And obviously, like you said, not being able to get to the quarterback is the bigger issue. We would be able to forgive him if he did get the Kirk Cousins on that last drive, if he did that. but it was really rough. Like I see tweets that are like Nolan Smith should get those snaps over him. I believe Fran said that the other day, like Nolan Smith probably should play against the run over Bryce Huff. That's not great. Nolan Smith is like no great shakes at this point. I just criticized him earlier, and it just makes me think like, man, what a miserable sequence of transactions in the Northeast with football. Nobody's happy right now with the Jets Eagles defensive end swap of 2024.
Yeah. It's certainly concerning. I used to be a huge Josh Sweat fan. Not that I'm not a fan, like I wish him well. But like I thought this guy, his first year showed you a glimpse, and then I was like, all right, the second year he started to come on, and you're like, all right, they got this highly recruited D end out of high school. I think he was like top 5 in the country or something. Had the knee injuries, finally recouped, and then he kind of had some breakout years. Getting around that 10 sacks for like 2 straight years. I don't know where that guy has gone. Is that just an adjustment, or has he lost a step, and are the injuries caught up with him? I saw Jimmy Kempski saying like Jalix Hunt at least would give you better effort than Bryce would right now. So I don't know what they do. I think it's a fascinating element of the New Orleans game is what does Vic do? Because now he's going to get the full spotlight of Eagles fans and Eagles media attention because it's such a glaring problem. So I think this is a fascinating Vic Fangio game on Sunday.
Well, and people afterwards said, like, why didn't you blitz more? And
the
counter I would say to that is he brought the house on that one play, and it ends up with
was that the CJ
Gardner-Johnson?
Yeah, blown Mooney tackle. Yeah,
blowing the Darnell Mooney tackle, and Darnell Mooney is doing a somersault into your end zone.
Not ideal.
Not ideal, right? And so that's those are the issues, right? Like that's the downside of blitzing, but like there probably is a middle ground, right? Like I think he sent both linebackers on that play. Like, are there some run blitzes you could bring? Here's an idea that I had just watching the game, because I think the Eagles are in nickel so much, and Avonte Maddox obviously has been a really tough player for a lot of his career, like very good tackler. I'm not really trying to
versatile
to on Avonte here, but Cooper DeJean I think is like, the strength in his game is going downhill right now. And I understand that's not the most important part of the nickel position, but run support is like a sneaky important part of it. So maybe you play him more. I don't know. Maybe you send him off the edge a little bit more. I don't know what exactly the right answer is, but yeah, man, it's a disaster. Like those Bijan Robinson lanes that he had to run, I think their running backs were over 6 yards a carry. It felt worse than that, man. Like it really did.
It did.
Like at least when Saquon breaks these runs, like he's like making some great juke in the backfield. He's making some awesome cutback.
Yeah.
And that's part of the reason I'm loving Saquon. That's not to say that Mekhi Becton and Cam Jurgens are not moving guys, because they are.
Yeah.
They are as well. But man, like these Bijan Robinson lanes, like I feel like I could get like 3 or 4 yards of carry on those. And I would like die after one snap playing in the NFL.
I'm pretty sure I would just like just turn into dust if I got hit by some of these guys.
If I got hit by a linebacker who like was not even running at full speed, I would evaporate. Yes, exactly.
And one of the other guys on the D line here is Jordan Davis. And Rich, when it comes to evaluating, draft picks and rookies, 3 years is kind of a fair window. You don't want to overjudge a guy too quickly in year 1, year 2. You want to see those steps, and that's where Nolan Smith is right now. You want to see him take that next step and show you that by year 3, he is kind of, I don't want to say a fully baked pie, but like you have a pretty good idea of what that person is. Jordan Davis is in year 3, and I don't have a really good idea of what he is. What my gut is telling me is Kyle Hamilton would have been a better draft pick for the Philadelphia Eagles.
Sure, he's the new Earl Thomas, and you
unfortunately, you just have to play that game, right?
Well, you just hope that Jordan Davis can figure it out at some point, and he doesn't have to become as great as Brandon Graham was, but like at least a serviceable player. Jamie, the thing that worries me about Jordan Davis is, we talked about the changing schemes. To me, whatever Vic Fangio wants to call what he's doing right now is that feels like that is more Jordan Davis's game, right? Like I know, he showed a little bit of pass rush juice at Georgia, but the idea of like take up space, be hard to run against, this feels like this should be all you, man. And through the first couple of weeks, even though they are getting completely gashed, he's playing less than half the snaps right now. Yeah. So it's not great.
Yeah, and one of the other things that isn't great, and Vinny just texted me back. He said he was making the backdrop look nice. Oh, and we're getting told by our producer that Vinny is now ready. The backdrop is up and nice. Oh,
hey guys,
my
wow.
God. What? That is beautiful. Are those the Jordans behind her, or is that a wine cellar? What's going on here?
No, yeah.
These are all the J's and the
Nah,
Lombardi.
this
What
is
a
all
room!
mine with the Lombardi. Lloyd,
That is
this is a little nice little liquor cabinet.
Oh man, that is a nice room. Very similar to my wine room, Vinny. Me and you. Yeah. So Vinny, we were just talking about it. Look, Monday, we were kind of in a state of shock. You said, you feel like you're still in that locker room and everybody's pissed, like you felt angry. Walk us through the process of what it's like on that short week. You get in there Tuesday. You said the coaches might have been sleeping in the office, just breaking through the film. They're pissed off. Everybody's pissed off. Tuesday, you get in there. Is Wednesday kind of turn the page day? Are you still going over some stuff? Like, walk us through your week in that defensive line room on a short week.
Oh man, yes. So the days to get listen, just because it's a short week doesn't mean the days is long.
Yeah.
The days definitely is long. Just to take the taxing off your body. So I'm pretty sure they probably went in there, watched the film, went over the mistakes, cut it in half, and then now the second half of your day, I will say post lunch, will go on to New Orleans. And it's definitely got to turn the page because listen, in the beauty of sports is always about what have you done for me lately. So they get another opportunity at this thing, here this weekend, and they got to convince us, man. They gotta just play the ball that we know and truly hope and aware of they're capable of playing.
Vinny, because you played the position, I am very curious how the regular defensive end views run defense, right? Because I think a lot of the DNs, they get judged by fans. They get paid a lot of times on, do they get to the quarterback? Do they make sacks? But after watching how poor the run defense was over the past couple of days, like for you and just for the average defensive end, how do you view kind of run defense, your role in it? Is it something that probably gets swept under the rug for us fans? Like, how do you view it?
Absolutely. For a lot of my career, I was the dirty work, run stuff.
You
But
were.
I've also rushed the passer. But you guys just gotta understand and what it is to set the edge. In Philadelphia, who hang their hat on defensive line play. That's why it's so easy for it to stick out now. Like, wait, hold on, this don't look right. You know what I mean?
Right.
And listen, man, they guys is the biggest things. The takeaways from Monday was setting the edge, getting off blocks, and freaking staying on your feet. Those are just like the biggest three takeaways. The rest will take care of itself. Once you stop the run, you'll earn the right to rush the passer. But then you go into pass rush situations, you're still worried about the run because they had elusive running backs that now you're just in no man's land. So.
Yeah.
It feels like a thing that goes so underrated. Like, it feels like something.
It's insane, but they also, let me tell you, like, they also used to, and that's what I'm saying, coach. The coaching staff, I'm pretty sure, they told them you gotta know your opponent, man, and like the players just gotta put it all together.
Vinny, you said guys, got to stay on your feet and all that. And some of the Bryce Huff footage we've seen, week one was a bad field, so he kind of got the pass. Saw him down on the ground a decent bit in week two. The other guy that the Atlanta Falcons seemed to attack with Chris Lindstrom a lot was Zack Berman. They were cutting him low, getting him off his feet, and just keeping him out of the ground. And that probably contributed to their success on the ground. What do you do in that situation, whether you're an end that's getting cut, a linebacker that's getting cut? How do you kind of counter that in game? To take that away from them.
Right. So in Zach's case, Zach was all over the field. We won. They in order to slow, the Eagles defense down, you have to slow down that engine. And he was the engine, I would say, in week one. So once you slow him down, they was trying to, I think, frustrate him at times. And once you slow him down, is now everybody else is just I don't want to say kind of slowing down as well, but at the same time, when they understand that linebacker is getting slowed down, now it's time. Now it really magnifies that it's time for defensive line play to step it up. You know what I mean? And that's something that they do at practice. I know that for a fact that they work on, disengaging in blocks, getting your hands on somebody, working the cut block. Now you just have to all put it together and show it out there on Monday night, which we didn't see.
Vinny, the people want you back in the chat. They really they want somebody that is willing to do the dirty work that people don't notice when things are going well. The other big question I had for you, because again, like you lived it, you played the position. When you were switching defenses from, and I know it's more technical than this, but from like a 4-3-1 gap where you're just getting up the field, that's the main goal, to a different defense, which I believe you did, right, in 2013 when Billy Davis got here. What type of adjustment is that like for all of the defensive linemen?
For the biggest thing, per se, was just the point of contact. How fast can you get your hands from the ground to the man? Not really, you know, reading, but I would say dictating the block, dictating which way you want them to go. Once those guys, get on that same page with each other, because there's a lot of new key pieces there. Once those guys get on the same page with each other, I truly believe this that they will be fine. But at the same time, it need to happen fast because just the way that game went on Monday, it was like, yeah, this don't look right, and in Philadelphia for years, for over a decade, that we love seeing defensive linemen jump off the screen, and that's one thing we used to talk about, in that locker room, like, yo, man, I'm be the first one to get the tackle for loss, or I'm gonna be the first one to do this. I was like, yeah, and then, I'd be like, yo, we'll see, okay, and it was like a friendly competition amongst us because that sense of urgency and that energy that on a Monday night at the link, that sense of urgency, it was electrifying. And I was down there, for the first quarter before I came into the studio, and just to see the energy and electricity going through the stadium, I said, oh yeah, it's gonna be a great defensive game. They should feed off of this, but listen.
Yeah. So Vinny, now, look, for better or worse, Vic Fangio, I just said to Rich, is going to kind of get the spotlight from a lot of Eagles fans this week because the defensive line hasn't played well enough. How do you go about making this better on Sunday, right? We have the play. We're locked in with our guys. Now we got to get some results. Is there more Vinnie Curry dirty work that needs to be done by some guys? Do some guys just need to step up and win one-on-one? Do they need more blitzes? Is there something schematically like how does Vic get the most out of these guys now going forward?
Listen, I'm pretty sure, Vic been been around for a while, and he's very well respected. So at the end of the day, all Vic need out of, the defensive line is do your job. Just do your job harder than the next man. That's it. Once you do your job harder than the next man, the rest will just fall in place. They got a great, great test coming in on Sunday, at the Superdome, and it's like, just do your job. That's it. You ain't got it. Nobody got to be Superman. Nobody got.
So you don't expect an uptick in blitzes or anything? Like he's going to trust his guys to go get it done?
I'm pretty sure he got something in the works, but at the same time, you gotta. So it goes back to the know your opponent. I don't know if they're gonna blitz Alfred Kamara where he's sneaky out that backfield.
True.
You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, he's a beast.
But you know who? Yeah, I'm just. I gotta.
Yeah, he's a problem.
I'm not. I'm not. You know what I mean? But listen. If everybody just they do their job and play sound football, and one more thing, if we can make the missed tackles to a single number or anything like that, they'll be fine. They'll be fine. It goes back to what I'll tell you when we won. Like the biggest thing was you want to bang around, you want to run around the pieces so you can kind of gauge going into this regular season off, what you did wrong. Even though every snap not going to be perfect, but you couldn't. In that building, that's what I'm telling you. Like in that building, damn near every snap better be damn near perfect, So I already know the fire that's lit, down there at the NovaCare, man, because they'll be fun.
Vinny, you're giving us some hope, which is good. I appreciate that. And I
Yeah, we
think
need it.
that's the hope. The hope is that, like, look, this doesn't look great right now, but it's a long season and they can progressively get better. I was wondering, like, during your career, was there a specific season where you felt like, whether it was the defensive line or the defense, that you got a lot better from September to November, December? Like, was there a specific season where things weren't exactly right at the beginning, but you saw improvement as you went along?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. The 20 what's that 2014 season and the 13 season. You remember we kind of started off slow, but then we finished with like damn near 50 sacks. It was crazy. Guys going and things, but once again, when you stop in and run it, you in the back. You see us in the backfield. We're just not executing or getting him down. Whether it was the Hurries was skyrocketing or the quarterback hits was skyrocketing. It's just like, damn, this man getting rid of that ball super fast. But then once we started getting ahead of the sticks, it was kiss the baby time. So.
Vinny, I'm going to ask you to throw on your OC cap here for a second. One of the things penalty-wise that keeps biting them is the offensive lineman getting the illegal man downfield on the RPO, PRO, whatever you want to call it. How do you clean that up, right? Like, it's kind of a tricky thing because the offensive linemen are taught to, engage somebody, but they only have a certain, yardage amount to do it within. And they don't really know what the quarterback's doing behind them at that point. How do you clean up this issue that kind of bit them 4 times on a couple big plays on Monday night?
Yeah, man, they got the best offensive line coach in football. So he'll have that cleaned up. Think about it, it's Monday night now, and I'm not making excuses for them, but it's Monday night. I'm pretty sure they was excited. Me and you watched them blow a couple of people off the ball.
Yeah, they did.
But so at the same time, I just think they was eager to hit something instead of going through the proper couple seconds and then going out there. I don't want to say they was rushing it, but I think if they just slow it down, they would have been fine. The calls would have been fine.
All right.
That goes to show you how loud the link was on Monday.
Yeah, and look, the Superdome is going to be rocking on Sunday. New Orleans, Derek Carr looks like one of the the league MVP through 2 weeks here. That's going to be a tough place to play in. How many times did you get down to New Orleans in your career? It had to be, 5 or 6 times probably, right?
That's got
to be one of the tougher places to play, huh?
Absolutely, yeah. But at the same time, if you really got a passion for this thing, you can feed off of that.
Yeah, good. Well, Vinny, you inspired us with some hope here. We will be together, of course, on Sunday again, watching the game for the post-game show here on PHLY. That is, I will say, I think officially the best backdrop we've had here on PHLY. Not even close. I don't think Zack Berman can ever beat what you just showed us, Vinny. So that's great stuff, man. Thanks for your time, Vinny, and good luck on dad duty the rest of the week at your son's football practice, and we'll see you on Sunday.
I appreciate you guys. Thank you guys for having me. See you guys on Sunday.
Anytime, Vinny. See you, buddy. There he is, the great Vinnie Curry. Awesome stuff, Rich. I love talking to a guy that was in that locker room last year about this stuff and the experiences of going through it. It really is tremendous stuff. And just to toot PHLY's horn here with Vinny and what Fran did today on his article with the All-22 film breakdown. The diehards are coming out in droves, and we appreciate everybody. It is going to be a good football season, I think. I think Monday was a low point, but Vinny has been through those. He's been in those locker rooms, and the way he kind of is smirking a little bit about guys being fired up in there, I think that's legit. So it was nice to get a little inspiration there from a guy that stood in those walls.
He's great, and I think part of the thing in Philadelphia is that it is such a rabid football market that you see a lot of these former Eagles become analysts and
sure.
Get into the media game. And it's great that Vinny is starting to do that because he's a fun guy, man. He's super sharp and he can tell you a lot, especially about line play, but he's also just like a lot of fun too.
He is a lot of fun. What a room that is. We got a party there at some point, huh?
I'm super excited.
Wine bottles.
Oh, I know. It was unbelievable. You thought they were Jordans. They were wine bottles. Oh, man.
Well, he has over 600 pairs of Jordans. I couldn't tell what was going on at first.
Yeah.
Avid Jordan man.
Yeah, he's keeping us on our toes, which is good.
Yeah.
Wait, real quick, Jamie. I want to say
yeah.
for my Wi-Fi at the beginning of the show, I want to say I'm going to study all of the Wi-Fi, all of the remote hits from 2022 on, and I'm going to see which ones worked and which ones didn't, and we'll figure it out. That one was on me.
Do we need to get Bodner over there to IT check your place out?
No, I'm at my parents' place. So I went to the wrong room where the router doesn't extend that far. That's on me. I got to do a better job. Okay.
Yeah.
I just want to face the music. Like, look, if we're gonna grill
gotta own
Nick
it.
Sirianni, I gotta own it. And look, in fairness, I feel like my first Wi-Fi mishap for the sickos in the chat, like they've seen it all over the place on this show.
Yeah,
so
Zach's been doing this for a decade,
It's like a milestone of sorts, Now I'm part of the club. So,
real quick, as we're wrapping up, there's one more thing I wanted to throw at you that was thrown in our Discord channel this week, and I forget by who. I didn't write it down, and that's a bad job by me. But the last question I asked Vinny there about the, that RPO, PRO, illegal downfield thing is a difficult thing for a lineman, because they're taught to engage, but then the ball has to come out. It's like a perfectly timed play, and they didn't execute it at all on Monday. There was twice it bit them on penalties, which were probably their best plays on it of the night. The other 3 to 4 plays resulted in very minimal stuff. Nick Sirianni's brother. Look at this quote. This is from an article. It says, Washington and Jefferson College coach Mike Sirianni said it's difficult to coach linemen to avoid going downfield at times because they must run block first in an RPO attack. They're going to get called at times, Sirianni said. We accept that they're going to get called for a penalty at times. Sometimes you may see the linebackers vacating and you might realize it's a pass. You can't totally rely on it.
Until the Eagles figure this out, they're RP knows, in my opinion. Now that's what we are calling them. It's like, look,
is this running the family that you're just okay with penalties on it? Like what?
Well, I wonder if the refs at Washington and Jefferson don't pick it up quite as easily. Like, I don't think they can send it back to New York, and they're not getting scrutinized by Troy Aikman after every play. But yeah, dude, it's hard. Like I feel for the linemen in those situations. But like, as Sirianni, to his credit, said after the game, he's like, no, those were all pretty clear calls. Like they were well downfield, well beyond 1 yard.
Oh yeah.
And
the Orlovsky breakdown, I was like, yeah, that's a penalty.
I don't know. It feels like the first season of Sirianni, 2021, there was just a lot of this at the beginning of the season. And, they were doing some things right, but they just had the ineligible man downfield. So I don't know what the right answer is, because if Cam Jurgens thinks it's a run and there's nobody in front of him, he's going to go get the linebacker. But if Jalen throws the ball, that's an automatic ineligible man downfield. I wonder if they thought like, it's sort of like the way Legion of Boom viewed pass interference and illegal contact. Like, can't call it on every play. Might call it, 2 or 3 times during the game, but there's the 10 times you don't call it, and it's going to be super advantageous to us. But man, they're calling it pretty much every time right now.
Yeah, and it just kind of begs the question: if the plays aren't working when you're not getting called for it, is the juice worth the squeeze? So something to keep an eye on going forward here. Rich, Michael Conroy would like to know if we'd like to bring in a Wi-Fi coordinator to take that off your plate, and you can just focus on the show.
100%.
All right. Maybe you got to fire some of your coordinators, fall on the sword, and keep your job. But we'll bring some new guys in to replace it. All right. To everybody in the chat, I can't get to all of you. To Claire, Michael, and Andy Reid's mustache, and Michael, and Polar Jam, and SMY Guy. VG's in here. Champy, to all the sickos. Rich and I are honored to sit in for Zach and Bo every Wednesday, and continue on to Vinnie Curry. Absolutely awesome addition to PHLY. Thanks for his time hopping on. And ZB, carrying the Big J journalism shield down at the NovaCare. Always love checking in with him. And make sure you're getting your pre-orders in for Zach's book. It comes out next Tuesday. And you diehards. There's a diehard only event going on in our offices with a book signing and a Q&A with Zack Berman. We're going to get some food and just hang out and have a great time and sell some of Zach's books. So if you're interested in checking that out.
Let's get that thing to the top of the bestseller list.
Let's move it up. Come on. So if you want to check that out, go to All PHLY on the events tab. You can sign up and get tickets. They're going quick. It is limited. So if you want to get them, pounce on that quickly. For everybody hanging out with us, you could spend your time anywhere. You spend it with us, and we really appreciate it. For Rich Hoffman, And great job by Brenna behind the scenes. I'm Jamie Lynch. We'll be back next Wednesday. I'll be back Eagles game day on Sunday. But Zach and Bo will be back tomorrow at 2 o'clock. I believe Fran Duffy is in with them on Thursday and Daynez on Friday. So a full week here on PHLY Eagles. We'll talk to you soon.